Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on your way in. Look, D. Scott and Victor Creed. I don't need this from you, man. I don't need this, man. Oh man, what did Will Dad say again? Oh man, what's going on, everybody? Okay, so like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on your way in. We will be talking about Miss Shay Shade and her conversation with Miss Laura Walters. And shout out to Shay for bringing me on. Shout out to Miss Walters. This was a great conversation. And yeah, we kept it pretty civil. It wasn't any bashing. Um, it was actually a pretty good conversation, and it spoke to a lot of what we're coming into contact with in these swirler, divestor, black women level up, black women in luxury, manifest, all of those conversations, right? Even some of the more vague kind of black woman empowerment language is the conversation of the mythical, magical white man. Um, and Miss Laura, Miss Walters, pretty much said she don't know what the hell y'all talking about, right? Um, and what I found interesting. And first, let's pat Mr. Z on the back. I told you I'd be around white people. I know how to talk to white people because I've been around white people. Like, yeah, this is a white woman, white ex-boyfriends, white father, white relatives and family members. I mean, and grew up around white people. And what you find is like a lot of this conversation that we have in the black community, you almost wonder what the hell people are talking about, namely, oftentimes black women. And I think that's something I'm going to continue to forward more and more, is that much of the conversation is actually just attempting to gaslight. And other people have said this also, so I'm not saying anything new. I'm going to say it more and more on my end though, which is it coming from swirlers and divestors and generally black women who imply and suggest this, which is just attempting to gaslight black men with the mythical, magical white man that's like omnipotent and omniscient and builds and provides, perfectly, and his wife doesn't have to work, and et cetera, et cetera. And like, once again, all the numbers that we know, which is, over 70% of American mothers work, right? I think it's closer to 75% actually, particularly after the child is the age of 5, right? And speaking of Miss Laura, middle class white woman, and she's just living her life, married to a mixed brother, and yeah, that's what it is. You know, Shout out to Shay for having these conversations. Um, and I think Shay, Shay, much like me, we're just dumbfounded by some of what these people are saying, right? Like, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, have you ever been around white people? And I think Shay, like I said, much like me, we're like, we've been around white people, we've had white friends, we have white associates, and we're just like, who are these people that you're speaking about? Who this and for many of us who have not just had white associates, but like had white people, tell you some of their secrets, tell you some of their family secrets, and then you hear how some black women, namely swirlers and divestors, attempt to gaslight black men and much of the black community with this talk of what white men are or aren't. It's hysterical. I'm What comes to mind is much of that conversation. I should have actually brought this up too, like the conversation in the 90s about black men being secretly gay, right? And for those of you too young to remember, there was this kind of, and it started off with Terry McMillan, particularly after her horrible back and forth with her passport bro Jamaican husband. Um, there, instead of black women holding that L of attempting to leave ADOS FBA black men and go to the Caribbean to find more pliable black men. Instead of them taking that L, the loss that they suffered with this very public breakup of Terry McMillan and her husband, um, what ends up happening, these women waged like a campaign against black men, pretty much saying that black men are like secretly gay, right? Black men marry black women, black men have sex and date black women, but like on the side, they're like dealing with each other and other men, right? And that is what a lot of this conversation reminded me of, right? Because in the 90s, like we know, like white politicians were getting caught up with other men in like bathroom stalls, particularly white conservatives. I could think of at least two or three off the top of my head. In the 90s and the early aughts, like they just kept on getting caught with like men. Like and like what made it funny is like oftentimes these were conservative white men, right? Like Republican white men. But yet the rhetoric was about black men being secretly gay. And I bring that up in sake of this conversation to say like this is what often happens, right? It's a particular group of black women going at black men with either out of context statistics, just hearsay, old-timey wisdom, things they feel about white folks. Like that's why I call it the mythical magical white man. I didn't pull that out of my rear end. That is how they speak about people, like white men who are like people, right? And the conversation, like, and you see oftentimes white men embarrass black women on social media when and Shay posted this last year, which is a black woman saying, white men will send you money on first dates to do your hair and your nails and Uber and this and this and that, and white guys, like at least 5, 6, 7 white guys descended into her comments who were like, who are these white men that you're talking about? Who are these white guys? I'm white and I have white friends and I don't know any man that's like paying for all of this stuff. Who are these guys, right? And like that goes to show you, like, even white men that are not up on game, like they're supposed to be quiet and just let black women gaslight black men with all of this mythical talk, they'll check that, right? And even white guys who are up on game, sometimes they're just fed up with being used as a tool against black men, right? And this also speaks to what happens when you are not paying attention to your environment, when much of your rhetoric is old. You don't realize how your environment's changing. I mean, even much of the conversation about the black manosphere specifically is caught up in this space, right? Which is like, oh, only black men are over here complaining about their women and what their women aren't doing for them and what their women aren't, right? Train tracks, train tracks, train tracks. And it's like, yeah, no, the white manosphere is bigger than the black manosphere. The black manosphere might be more influential, but the white manosphere is bigger than the black manosphere, right? And like this kind of talk amongst men isn't just an American thing, and it's not just a Western thing, believe it or not. This is global, i.e. Andrew Tate and the love that he gets around the world. Yeah, right? But once again, when you hyper focus on what black men aren't, how trash black men are, how they're not showing up for black women, how colorist they are, how sexist they are, how they don't want to build and provide and protect for black women at the absolute highest, retardedly, exclusive level, then you miss out on what else is going on in the world, right? And so it was good having that conversation with Miss Walters, and about what these swirlers and divestors are saying, and to see the kind of disgust on her face. She was already fed up by the swirl. She didn't even have to get to the divestors part of the conversation for you to see like the the anguish, right? The Jesus Christ on her face. And that's that real-time reaction. And you're going to continue to see, like, white people, like white women namely, in their real-time reaction as evidenced by when Shay interviewed the more seasoned woman well, that was last year or maybe even the year before, and she was like, you know, a lot of black women think that white women don't struggle and et cetera, et cetera. And the white woman was like, wait, are you serious? She chuckled, and then she was like, wait, you're serious? Exactly, exactly, right? And yeah, and for the longest, black women didn't have that check. They gaslit black men or attempted to gaslight black men with this type of talk, and then they didn't have that checked. Well, now people are talking to other people online, and it's just going to be harder and harder to continue to do that, right? So y'all better keep on huddling up on y'all on Destiny and all these other virtue signaling white men who's going to ego stroke you. Much of them aren't going to marry you. Shout out to Vincent LeBeau. Y'all gonna only get that once in a blue moon. And yeah, you know, hopefully for black women, y'all could try to find y'all or make y'all some Vincent LeBeaus. But for the most part, yeah, you ain't gonna get that. You know, so unfortunately for you, right? And yeah, and as Miss Walters said, like, y'all just, and you know, I said that too, but y'all just don't know money. Y'all don't know what people make, and you know, a lot of this conversation is like mythical, magical talk, and I stand by what I said earlier, which is the struggle is real. People are feeling the struggle, and like then it's time to get into imagination land. And imagination land is talking about these mythical, magical white men that are going to sweep you off your feet and save you from your own life, right? It is insulting black men. It is beating up on black men. It is the culture war um, against black men. All of that is because of the struggle. So you take whatever misandry was already there, right? You take whatever anti-blackness was already there. You take the gynocracy and you hype it up even more because the struggle is real for younger Xers, millennials, and Gen Z. And those college degrees ain't producing what was promised to us, or at least suggested to us, right? I stand by what I said. I understand the struggle, ladies, but instead of you trying to get at the rich white elite men, you're trying to marry them. Have fun with that, right? Instead of you putting your big girl panties on and getting at the rich white elite dudes, you try to knock white women off the pedestal and then end up with their men. And you know, as you saw when I said that to Miss Walters, what y'all think Mr. Z don't know? Or I don't talk to white. I told y'all I have white friends. I have white associates. I know how to talk. I've been around white women my entire life. So when I said that comment about, yeah, get prepared to fight the white woman and the Asian woman for the white man, and she chuckled because she knew what I was telling her, what I said was the truth. It was funny because it's low-key an inside joke. And those of us that know. I mean, we all know in America, but many of us don't got the balls or the ovaries to say it. Mr. Z got the balls to say it, right? And oh, don't forget the part where she said the rich white dudes ain't trying to hear your opinion. Now, black women, that just shut out like what, 95% of y'all, right? 95% of black women just they don't want to hear your opinion. So the rich white guy that all of you women are chasing after, all of you white women, you women of color, black women, yeah, ain't trying to hear your opinion. That's cute. That's nice. Not trying to hear it, right? And it's like, but duh. That's not even something to revel in. That's not something Mr. Z is reveling in. Like, ha ha ha. They don't want to hear your opinion. It's like, what did you think? Wait a minute. You thought I was going to be an educated, well-connected, rich white man in a still mainly predominantly white powered planet, and I was going to want to hear from you as my woman of color wife, my black girlfriend, my black side piece? Why? Because you got a college degree? Okay, you got a college degree from an Ivy League? You thought that meant that my power and prestige is on the same level as your education. Like, these people don't even think. Like, think about what you're saying. And I think a lot of this has to do with that, right? Like, education used to climb up the class ladder, and like these people are mad, black women are mad that like the college degree isn't getting them what they thought it was supposed to get them, right? Mainly to be accepted by white dudes, right? And this is why y'all want to obscure certain dating information online. Y'all don't want people asking y'all about y'all weight online. Y'all want to obscure the race question online. All of it is to get closer to the white man. Everybody knows, right? And if y'all are shaken up by the past few interviews that Shay has done with white women, wait until she speaks to Dr. Jennifer Lundquist and Dr. Chantel Buggs. I think she's going to speak to her also. That's and it's not to like hurt black women. I think y'all are already hurt. That's why y'all saying the type of things y'all saying. It's to maybe shake you out of that delusion and for you to stop. You want to talk about harming black men emotionally and mentally with all this crap y'all talking, and sometimes physically, right? And using the white man as some type of like gaslighting tool. Like, look, they build for their women at the absolute highest level, and look at this and look at that. And then you speak to your average white woman and they're like, what are you talking about? Right? I got a cousin that's been sitting on my aunt's couch for like 20 years, right? I got another cousin that's a meth head, right? I got another cousin, his dad, my uncle left him the house, he blew the money, or he didn't keep up with the taxes and lost the house. Right? Like, these are real stories. These are people. They're not gods. They're not better than black men. Because of history, they were positioned in a better place than other men, particularly black men. But better than black men? Right? Train tracks. And as Miss Walters said, like their issues just show up differently. But once again, when you hyper focus on how horrible black men are, you don't realize how their issues show up differently. You don't realize that, and you don't care. To be frank, let's be honest. Not only do you not realize that how those issues show up differently, you don't care how they show up. As a matter of fact, you would actually help white people to hide their issues, because what you really want to do is gaslight black men. Look at these perfect white dudes in their perfect community, and how they provide perfectly for their women at the absolute highest level. And you need to do that. Like I said, I stand on it. What it really is trying to get black men to work themselves to death to provide black women opulence and extravagance. Right? That's what this is really about. And let me read this super chat. Let's see. And the 18th letter, shout out to the 18th letter. And he said, Shay Shade video was the first content of its kind to get white women's opinion on divestor, delusion, insanity. I mean, right? Right? And it's not just that. I mean, Chrissy, I think last month spoke to the white dude, Zach, about divestors and their delusion. And he pretty much said the same thing. Chrissy, like we all know, she's trying to, cop please and play damage control off of the rhetoric that she's been putting out there for, some 6 or 7 years now, right? I know she's been online for like 7 and 8 years, but about 6 or 7 years, she really been on this divestors, swirler thing. She tiptoe into the divestor thing, and now she cop and please because their rhetoric is that insane and she doesn't want to be associated with it. It's too late, Chrissy. But thanks for bringing Zach on so he could tell the other women that they sound insane. Thank you for that. But you're much of the reason. You helped to instigate that. You can't stop copping please now, right? And let me say that again. You can't start copping please now, Chrissy. Right? And that's all that is. Right? you just have a regular conversation with white folks, and they'll tell you, if you really listen, not just tell them how horrible black men are. If you really sit down and speak to white women and white men, they'll tell you sometimes what's going on in their life, in their community, in their family, with their relatives, right? They'll tell you. But if the first thing you want to do is start kissing ass when you meet them and start telling them how horrible black people are, and you start doing the respectability, yeah, I think we're poor because we don't work hard enough, and we're not trying to start businesses, and we spend our money on Jordans and weave and big rims, and that's our issue, and we lack money management, and our problem is and our men don't want to marry our women, and yeah, that's our problem in the black community. If you start doing that, then they'll just let you talk. They will just let you talk. Our real problem is we don't want to pull our pants up, and we don't take school seriously, and then we go to school for BS degrees, and we're not going to school for STEM, like these other people that are getting let go and fired right now from the STEM field. Yikes. Right? Those people that are being laid off, including the Indian immigrants that's been here for a few years, and now they're panicking because H-1B visas only give you about 2 months to be unemployed. Yeah, I'm about to put that in my community chat. I did not make that up. That's a real story going on right now. Right? Once again, when you don't know how the world works, you don't care how it works, but all you know is black men ain't ish. That part you do know, right? Okay, yeah. You know, but like I said, these people meet white people, Latinos, Asians, and they just start spewing, oh, let me tell you what's going on in the black community and how horrible black men are, or how horrible black women are, and how horrible black people are. And right. And it's crazy, GC. It's crazy because one of the stories I'm gonna link it in my community chat after this stream. Right, one of the dudes, he said he just bought a $60,000 car, and like in everything, like it, and yeah, and he's one of them. He's stuck out the country right now because I think he went on vacation or something, and he can't even get in the country. Right, and like that's real. And like we don't even have, so when we throw Asians in black people's faces and how much money Asians have, we don't often talk, first of all, which Asians. It's the Indians at 119, 120,000 dollars a year. I think, I don't remember if it was average or a median. So that part, it's in my community chat because I mean my community tab, because Mr. Z does research. My elder is BGS, by the way, so um so it's 119. I can't remember if it was average or median. That's number one. Number two, much of that is Indian immigrants, H-1B visas, right? So like even the Asians y'all try to throw in black people's face, y'all don't even know which Asians it is, right? So like and it was great speaking to Laura, like you know, and it's funny, she's down the street from me, right? She was down the street from me, you know. For all the people that know the Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach County kind of layout, she's like really down the street. She's in North Miami. I was in at the time, when I was speaking, I was like down the street in Hollywood, right? And it's just you know speaking to people for real, and I think that's what needed to happen. Like you can see that people are trying to get a hold of this before it gets out of hand. That's what Richard Reeves is for. That's what Scott Galloway is for. As BGS reminds us, like Brookings Institute isn't just some BS think tank. This is like national security type thing. And if Richard Reeves is writing books and ringing the alarm, that means that men kind of falling off of society and be like, I mean, black women think it's funny and they're trying to throw it in black men's faces, but the important, the masters of the universe in America, yeah, they're like, oh wait, we got a problem here, you know. So while real talk with Yanni think it's funny to be like, haha, look, these men are struggling, black men are struggling, right? White society is like, oh, Houston, we have a problem, right? And Big Kev says, and thank you for the super chat. Big Kev says, this space gets flack because we expose their lies. Of course. Of course. And y'all know I like to give thanks oftentimes to the internet for this, because in the 90s and in the 80s, they just grabbed the white man's microphone, pun intended, and they just used that to kind of spew their disdain of black men. But the internet has democratized the town square and allowed black men to speak, and now they're scrambling, right? And the fact that you have like non-black people kind of snooping in and listening in, y'all know like a lot of Kevin Samuel's audience was like non-black, right? And they got to see that delusion live like twice a week. They got to see, yeah, obviously there were a few white women that called in the Kevin Samuel show. There was, Latinas that called in, one or two Asians, but they got to see mainly black women calling in night after night. These people that have an issue with the Kevin Samuels of the world, that's the part they never wanted. And we've all said it. I'm not saying anything new. We've all said it. The part that they don't want to tackle is, number one, Kevin wasn't paying them to be on there. Number two, it was a wide assortment of different type of black women from all around the country. Number three, they sounded, as whatever you want to say about Kevin, the women are the ones that sounded crazy. Y'all really just have a problem with the fact that Kevin was talking and he exposed it, right? And here's the important part. And that non-black people were listening in. That's why y'all really mad. That's why y'all really mad. Because the narrative was always supposed to be these evil black men are colorist, sexist, misogynistic, transphobic, colorist, mean people, and they hate education, and they hate strong women, and they hate nice women, and they're mean, and they're going to cheat on us when they get money with the white women, and yada yada. And that was supposed to be the narrative forever, right? And then the Black Manosphere comes around, right? And then you get you get a bunch of different people having conversations with black women and women in general, but primarily black women. And then you get Kevin, who exploded on the scene around the COVID, and it's hard to make that argument now. There are some that are still trying, though, right? And Better You says, and thank you for the super chat. Better You says, I think the better question is where these people at? As a black person, it's near impossible not to come I into contact. I think you wanted to say into contact with whites. Who are you trying to fool? Black men. He said, not the man dog laugh. Man, I've been doing the man dog laugh on my channel for a little minute, right? Black people. To answer your question, Better You, who are they trying to fool? Sorry, I said black people. Correction, black men. I'm trying to gaslight you with these mythical, magical white men who are like worth hundreds of thousands of dollars at the least, who wives don't have to work, who provide at the absolute highest level, who are like, all white men are the masters of the universe. And I try to gaslight you with these people, say pretty much like, why you can't be like him? Look at what he's doing for himself. Look at what he's doing for his women. Look at what he's doing for his children. Right? They just try to use these dudes to gaslight, black men. And it doesn't tend to be East Asians or South Asians. It tends to be white folks because white folks are their gods. Right? These Superman white dudes are their gods. And really, as much as these women say, um, don't compete, and this is not a competition, and I'm not competing for no black man, they're competing for that white man. And better you said, but Keisha, I work 2 cubes down from you. Hey, for all of us that's ever been at worked at call centers, for all of us that have worked at major huge law firms or anything like that, we know what this is, man. We know what this is. We for the most part, we see white men and black women for the most part only have a working relationship. One or two mingle with each other. For the most part, it doesn't ever, elevate past a little work fling, right? And every once in a blue moon, it'll turn to something, at least long-term relationship, and even more rare than that, maybe marriage. We all been in those spaces. We've been in those spaces, right? And BGS says, well, why don't they have them? Because they're lying. That's what Miss Walters exposed today. Like, they're lying. They're lying, BGS. They're lying. You know it. I know it. We all know it. Right? They're lying because the goal is to work the black man to death so that he can make you the white woman. I'm sorry, I can't make you no white woman. Right? And y'all excuse me, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, everybody. Mrs. You gotta handle some life right now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, I'm back. I'm back. Okay, but yeah, so that's it is. This was a great conversation. Stayed pretty cordial, pretty lighthearted conversation, right? Um, and once again, for me, the reason why I participated, and thank you, Shay, for inviting me on, is to just to have the conversation and just to kind of forward some of the things I've witnessed throughout my life. And it's not about, once again, making fun of black women, but it is to say you can't continue to think you're going to gaslight black men in this era without pushback, right? The only reason you got pushback in the 90s, it just wasn't the same, right? Because you had the big microphone, you had the white man's microphone, right? And mainstream media ran the day. Mainstream white media, especially that got consolidated after the Telecom Act, ran the day. Well, the internet has changed some of that, right? Better you said, Z, you on a string of Popeyes. Don't let him fool you. No, I do not. What? Yeah, I wish, right? I wish for my wallet's sake, right? And yeah, so it's just, you know, it's I think we're in the era now where that pushback is going to be real. And I don't know how many women in general, black women specifically, are ready for somewhat of a shift, because you need to bring men back online. You need to bring men back online. This whole society is realizing that they let their men pretty much they left their men pretty much out there for the past few decades, including some white boys and men, right? And there's a shift going on. And if your rhetoric is still stuck on some men ain't ish, even for some black women, if your rhetoric is still stuck on that, well, have fun. Have fun. Because this is bigger than you and your gripes against men. To be frank, this is bigger than you and your gripes against men. This is about the US government and its tax base and uber wealthy people's wealth, right? So have fun thinking your gripe against who didn't want you in high school. Mr. Z's always going to bring that up, right? It's more important than what the US government got to say, right? And yeah. And I think that's where Miss Laura comes in, right? That's where Miss Walters comes in. Married, right? And the I definitely got to bring that up. Give me 1 second, because I got to bring this up in a minute. Give me 1 second. Y'all talk amongst yourselves again.
I'm back. I'm back. So this part to me stuck out. And to me, to Mr. Z, it was a bit sad. A bit sobering, I think, is the better term for it. But it's something that we've alluded to or outright said before. And it was the young ladies speaking about the sadness of being alone, of being single, and like keeping a stiff upper lip and smiling in public, and enjoying others company and going out with your friends, and then kind of going home and crying yourself to sleep at night. And this is something I've said before, this is something other people have said before and implied. And I think, especially being married and whatnot, I think Miss Walters and Shay, and I think that's we're dealing with a different type of women with in that part of the conversation. But I think, to be honest with you, I don't think that many of the women we see online would ever admit that. And that's important. It's important to say that you're actually fronting, right? And I mean, this is why I bring up Lonnie Love and her situation all the time. When she was single, and excuse my background, I know like this thing is rubbing against the headphones, my apologies. But when she was single, she was pretending like everything was fine and dandy and she was happy and she was out here having fun. And who wants to be in a relationship anyway? And I'm single, I'll do what I want to do, how I want to do it, when I want to do it. I don't have to, I'm not beholden to anyone. I don't have to check in with anyone, and it's great. And then she met the white guy, right? And then she's on the reel crying, saying, love, and it feels great to come home and somebody's waiting there for you. And what happened to all that fronting you were doing 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago? What happened? Right? And I would argue way more people, women, are doing that, thinking we don't know or hoping we don't know. Right? We are human beings. We are social creatures. Man, I would rather be single. Really? Right? Really? Some of us. And that's true. There are some of us that are not even content being single. We are happy being single, right? There are some people that are truly happy being single. It ain't nothing to write home about, though. Most of you are not. The vast majority of your friend, and everyone knows it. Your family knows it. Your friends know it. We all know it. We'll pretend with you, though. We will pretend with you, right? And shout out to Shay and Laura, because they admitted it. Like, yeah, nah. You cry yourself to sleep at night. You at work, you in these corporate environments, they eating you alive. Your bosses are a-holes. Yeah, we know what it is. And that's why I made sure to say what I said. You know, I made it a generation thing, but to kind of drive the point home. But we were lied to. We were lied to, especially for those of us pretty much like 45-ish, so the absolute youngest of millennials. I mean, excuse me, of Xers and younger, right? Even Scott Galloway's even honest about that. He when he says boomers, he's talking about white boomers mainly. But boomers took so much opportunity off the table, and they so selfish with it. And the type of things they advocate for actually screw their children because they're trying to hoard on to the wealth forever, right? And that's a boomer man admitting, like, yeah, we pretty much screwed y'all, right? Oh, yeah, like my whining voice. Come on, man, y'all know what it is, right? And once again, life's happening, so y'all give me like 20 seconds. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Mr. Z will be back. D Scott just killed me. D Scott said, "Love doesn't have a color looking ass." It's funny because it's true. And then she's like, wasn't that what Lonnie Love was saying? Like that type of stuff, right? And it is funny because it's like, you know, just a week ago, you were fine being single. You were actually more than fine being single. Implying that you weren't fine being single would have been seen as sexist. We would have been called sexist if we said, yeah, I don't think Lonnie Love is happy. Well, because she's a woman? Well, you trying to say something about her weight? What you saying? She lying? Y'all always think that we lying when we say that we happy being single. Right? 6 months later, right? 9 months later. And that's all me and Laura and Shay were saying. There's a lot of projection, there's a lot of delusion, there's a lot of denial, right? And that does have an effect on your society. I'm not speaking about anything that's just about you as a black woman. Enough of you think and feel a certain way and it affects your community. Enough of you think and feel a certain way and then it affects society as at large. Because it's more than just you and your delusions. Your delusions actually have an effect on people, on society, on a government, right? I'm not having no children unless what did homegirl tell Tone Talks on Zoe Williams show? Until I'm a millionaire. Well, I don't really like care for that lady, so it's okay for me if she don't have no children. But that mindset though, that mindset, right? What, only 8%, 9% of Americans are millionaires, and that's mainly through assets and homes and whatnot. Some 8.8%. So we'll round up. We'll round up and say 9%. 9% of Americans are millionaires. So less than 10%. So you're saying until let's give it another percent, 0.2, right? 1.2%. And let's say it's 10%. So until you get into that group of people, and by the way, that's still not liquid, right? That's still not liquid. Until you get into that group of people, you're not having children. Well, right? Maybe that's for the best. Maybe we don't need someone that think like you being a mother, right? Maybe we don't need someone that feels like you being a mother, right? Maybe the universe is actually doing us a solid right now, right? What was her name? Wednesday? Her name was like a day of the week on Zoe's show, right? I think her name was Wednesday or something like that, right? You got people talking about billionaire stuff like there's not less than 3,000 of them on the planet, right? And that's from what we know. We don't know about the undocumented billionaires. Okay, let's double it. There's still less than 10,000 billionaires on a planet of 8 billion people, right? So shout out to Laura, shout out to Shay. Great conversation. Thanks for the candor, Miss Laura. Thanks for the honesty to Miss Laura and to Shay Shade. Yeah, we need it, and I think those conversations are important to set the record straight. And if I am not about being petty, but if we're gonna be petty, oh, and by the way, side note, I will be tuning in, and if Obsidian opens his panel, I'm gonna try to be available for when Obsidian opens his panel tomorrow, but he will be responding to Miss Kim Foster, right? So this is gonna be interesting. And the reason why I think this matters is because Miss Kim Foster, to me, is she, in certain ways, she's more dangerous than the divestors because they're comical, right? That doesn't mean they're not dangerous, but they're comical. They're like foaming at the mouth. They're so blatant that it you can't help but see what they are, who they are. Where Miss Kim has a veneer of respectability, right? And a veneer of authority, right? And she knows how to speak and articulate herself in a way that comes off benign and that she's just doing the work, and that's what makes her so dangerous, right? That's what makes her so dangerous. It's Oprah all over again, but for social media, right? That's what makes Kim Foster so dangerous, right? The fake concern for other black people, even black women, right? So to see Obsidian respond is not just Mr. Z be like, ha ha ha, he's gonna show you. No. It's people like this, particularly black women like this, who have gotten to run the yard with the conversation for some 5, 6, 7 decades. They got to run the yard with the conversation and then undermine the civil rights movement for decades and undermine black men for decades and use intersectionality to benign neglect black men for decades. And so the reason why the conversation between Obsidian and Kim Foster is important, outside of all the fanfare and all the one-upsmanship, no, it's bigger than that. It's because the Shay Shade's got to run the yard with the conversation for decades. And now they have to engage with the same people they've been talking crap about, working class black men. Now they have to engage with them. Obsidian is blue collar. Kim Foster is, from my understanding, raised upper middle class, right? Obsidian didn't attend college. Kim Foster attended Harvard, right? So that's why that conversation is important. And y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's why it's important. It's not just about watching Kim have to deal with and train tracks, right? It's not just about Kim having to come to terms with her language, which, by the way, never will happen. Obsidian could skewer her in a conversation. That type of mindset will never come off of it, ever. Right? But it's important that other people see what Kim Foster's language and rhetoric costs them in their own personal lives. That's what's important. It's important that other people, younger women, see what Kim Foster's rhetoric costs them in their own lives. As we know, Kim Foster's currently in a relationship. She's smiling ear to ear. She's happier. She's extremely happy, and I'm happy for her. And I really mean that. And I'm happy for her. But the rhetoric she puts out is not beneficial to the women that listen to her. That will only ever make, at most ever in their life, some 50 grand, 60 grand. Most likely 40 and 45,000. And that's what makes her so dangerous. Right? I will continue to say this so that we can always remember this is the one about you. That we don't need these niggas feminine. Her words. Right? Her words. Right? Let's bring back we don't need these niggas feminism. Right? And from the little bit that Obsidian said today, yeah, much of what Miss Kim Foster said might have been false. She might have got the wrong information. Right? And that, to me, to be frank, as dangerous as the divestor rhetoric is, the Kim Fosters are more dangerous. That's why you see me talk about her. The Yannies are more dangerous. The Chrissies are more dangerous. The Paris are more dangerous. And what the reason why they're dangerous is they take the angst of black women and their feeling of feeling unattractive because of their skin tone. They take the angst of black women and their economic position, their social position, their socioeconomic position. They take that angst and they weaponize it against black men. That's why Paris is so dangerous. They take black women's maybe left politics and direct it towards black men. That's what makes Kim so dangerous. They take black women's entrepreneurial spirit and weaponize it against black men. That's what makes Paris so dangerous. They take black women's sass, right, and their humor and just their way of being and weaponize it against black men. That's what makes Yanni so dangerous. Right? That's what makes these particular people so dangerous. Because they take certain legitimate concerns of black people in general, black women specifically, and direct all of that anger towards black men. Not white society, right? Not white men, not the elites, not the bankers, right? Not even the politicians, if they're not black men, of course. No, direct all of your angst and your anger to the black men sitting right next to you on the back of the bus. Those regular 9 to 5 black men, yeah, direct all of your anger to them. Right? That's what makes these people so dangerous. So as loud as the overt, foaming at the mouth divestors are, and shout out to once again to Laura and Shay for covering this rhetoric. And the look of disgust on Laura's face to hear black women on Clubhouse speak about was it Clubhouse or one of these apps speak about being turned on, because we've covered this before, turned on sexually watching white men of power, white police officers regulate black men. You'll be hard pressed to hear a white racist woman say that in public. You will be hard pressed to hear a white racist woman openly, admittedly saying that in public. But for a group of black women to say that, right? You're going above and beyond what some of the most virulent white racists, at least right now in the 21st century, will say in public and will admit in public. And so that lets you know, shout out to the brother the Raj report. And that way he's right. These particular women, they're not good people. And shout out to the brother Edward Anderson. He said it was her taste of pure fuckery. Right? Oh, and Detroit said it was yeah, clouds. Right? And that's important. It's important that we show that these people are oftentimes the people that get to, and I always got to reiterate this. They're the people that get into academia. They're the people that often get elevated in our society. And then these people take all of their angst and anger at black men. And then you wonder how you get a bigger long character in the Harriet movie, right? You wonder how you get that, right? You wonder how you keep on getting these movies with these black men that are just about DV. That's all they ever want to do is backhand a black woman, particularly a dark skinned black woman, because the people that are in those writing studios think like this. They think like Miss Kim Foster, right? They think like Chrissy. They think like Yanni. They think like Paris, right? That's how you get those characters. That's how you literally have this whole idea of a black man will destroy. Literally, Ashley Acuna is sitting on Grapevine and says that. When won't a black man defend a white woman from a black woman? Literally, she's calling black men lowercase t terrorist, right? That you wonder how you get, and remember, much of that cast that used to be on are all over music. Because I remember watching some award ceremony and I looked in the crowd and there go Mouse sitting right there, right? After the whole Saran debacle with what she said about damn, what's his face? Oh god, what is this? His face is right there in my head right now. But after the whole Saran debacle, they got bought onto BET because one of the brothers that's on the Grapevine works behind the scenes on BET. So these are the people that's the movers and shakers behind the scenes, and you see how they think about black men. And then you wonder why the Vice panel that had men on there, it was nothing but all the men copping pleas. The women's panel had a more vigorous debate than the men's panel. All the men pretty much admitted, yeah, men are trash. It's just different levels of why we're trash, or what we could do to do better, or what we got to work on, or emotional intelligence, or our concept of toxic masculinity. Yeah, Bruno Mars, thank you. Thank you, GC. Thank you. Right. After the whole debacle with Saran and what she said about Bruno Mars, I can't remember what the brother's name, but because movers and shakers behind the scenes on BT, they bought, or was it BT? I want to say it was BT. Right. If it was BT, it was Hot 97, maybe. Maybe. Can't remember. Right. So, all of this up, y'all like sure subscribe to the chat. Tying all of this up, you know, the conversation with Shay and Miss Laura was it was a good conversation, right? Um, like I said, stay lighthearted. Shay once again for bringing me on. But you know, it's just comical, and that's why I always say, like, go talk. Y'all heard Mr. Z say, go talk to white women about how great white men are. Go talk to Asian women about how great Asian men are. Go speak to Latinas about how great Latino men are and how much better they are than black men. Tell them your theories about why Latino men are so much better and watch them laugh in your face. Yeah, that child that birth out of wedlock rate might be 70 some odd percent for for the black community, but guess what? The Latino community is over 50% also. Yikes. And white women have the fastest growing birth out of wedlock rate. Y'all saw what Mr. when I put up, that was one of the first posts I put up in my community chat. Is the birth out of wedlock rate around the world. Because black women in America are so hyper focused, particularly these swirlers and divestors, are so hyper focused. Oh, I'm Borgin? Oh, Victor Credo said I'm Borgin. I'm sorry, y'all. Can y'all hear me? Maybe I got to move. Let's see. How we sounding right now? Now, maybe now, maybe now. Right? But as I was saying, these particular black women are so hyper focused on how horrible black men are that they're not paying attention to anything else that's going on in the world. And they run into the wall that, meanwhile, chastising black men for, breathing. In diaspora, I'm trying to click your phone because but the phone is being read. It says, Cersei spelling, and you said spelling in parentheses, was the original Edward, and videos were straight fire, and she was anti-black men. She had a good run from 2015 to 2018. Yes, I think you mean Saran. And yeah, so she. I'm back, y'all. I'm back. I'm back. They don't want me to be great. They don't want me to be great, right? So, going back to the comment about Saran, and now I could highlight it. So, yeah. So, Diaspora L says Cersei spelling was the original Edward Anderson. Her car video were straight fire, and she was anti hate black men. She had a good run from 2015 to 2018. So, yeah. So, if you are speaking about Saran, I think you are. Um, yeah. So, I found out about Saran, I don't know, through happenstance. And yeah, I was listening to her before she was on the Grapevine, and yeah, I really connected with her on her coverage of when the young lady was the white cop threw the young girl, or I think she was like 14 or 16. I don't even think she was 16. The young black girl that the cop in Texas kind of manhandled in front of all of the kids that were leaving that house party, that pool party, right? And am I still working? I hope not. If not, I'm gonna have to shut it down. But said bro disappeared. Okay, I don't know if that's a reference to me borging or not. Okay, hopefully not. Okay, okay. GC said I'm good now. Okay, so yeah, you know, so yeah, so Sarin covered that, and I kind of the energy at which she went at it, really hit me. So yeah, the way she was speaking about it, and I could tell that her and her husband had gotten divorced because that rhetoric changed for a little while, right? She was the stereotypical angry black woman for a little while, and I was like, wait a minute, she don't be talking about her husband no more. She doesn't talk about her husband anymore. And I put two and two together, and I think maybe a few months later, yeah, it was a little while later. Um, she was on the Grapevine, and they had an episode about marriage, and she was on, and she spoke about her divorce, and I was like, I knew it. I knew it, right? And Terrell said, "Damn Z, not getting your notifications." Hey, bro, y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is. My channel is small too. They could disappear my channel and they won't feel it. They ain't making that much money off of me, right? Right. And Terrell says, "Damn Z, not getting your notifications." Exactly. Right. So but tying all of this in, that's why these conversations matter. And like I was saying, I brought up the Grapevine to say that these are the people that are moving and shaking behind the scenes, right? And I use that to tie into the conversation with Shay Shade, Laura, and I about these. This is how these people sound oftentimes, and I cover the divestors, to poke fun at sometimes, to critique, excuse me, to critique. But be clear, Mr. Z doesn't think the divestors are the most dangerous. I think their rhetoric will inspire something heinous eventually. I think their rhetoric will inspire something heinous eventually. Don't get it misconstrued. It won't just be the occasional black woman who we find out on Twitter shared or liked or retweeted a comment from a divestor, or she said some divestor stuff herself, and then we find her, unalived in a white man's house. No, I'm saying eventually one of these people are gonna go out and do something heinous to black men, and you will find on their social media that they've been listening to these people. That's what I'm saying. So that's what make these divestors rhetoric dangerous. The Kim Fosters, why their rhetoric is dangerous, once again, is because the veneer of intelligence and education, right? Once again, intellectualizing their misandry, and then also rubbing elbows with important, influential um white folks, right? That's what makes Kim Foster's rhetoric dangerous. And don't miss how I broke down maybe 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, why these individual people's rhetoric is dangerous. What makes Chrissy's rhetoric dangerous? What makes Yanni's rhetoric dangerous? What makes Paris rhetoric dangerous? What makes Kim Foster rhetoric dangerous? What makes Cynthia G rhetoric dangerous? Right? You got daddy issues in Cynthia G. You got color complex in Chrissy. You have the sass and the humor in Yanni. You have that entrepreneurial get it done spirit in Paris, and they all of them. You have the kind of lefty political critique, the kind of elitist critique from both Yanni, Paris, Chrissy, and Kim from Fort Harriet, Kim Foster, and all of these women take all of that energy from your everyday black woman that subscribes to them, and then directs all of that energy, turns it into anger and rage, and then directs it towards black men. Right? They take all of that energy and direct the anger towards black men. Like I said earlier, not the white elite, not the power structure, not even the politicians. And that's why I called them cowards a couple weeks ago, because they are. Because they are cowards, right? Y'all ain't, you know what? Screw the white elite men. Y'all ain't even going at white women. Y'all are not even going at white women. Oh, I forgot because you're trying to be like them. Yikes. Right? And y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's how you get to where we are. So watching um Miss Laura Walters reaction, right? Watching her reaction, it's not surprising. I mean, literally, Paris. I'm sorry, not Paris. Chrissy bought Zach on the white guy to pretty much tell divestors, yeah, y'all sound a little bit too crazy. And that was what, last month. So you know, so some of them are turned down the rhetoric, some, but don't think the ideology isn't still there. They realize they're looking real foolish in front of the same white folks they worship. So they'll turn down the red just as they will turn down the rhetoric just a smidge, just enough to not sound like the crazies that they are. But the ideology is still there, and that's okay. Because to be frank with you, I don't want I don't want y'all brothers to get caught up with these women. These are the women that would make your life miserable. Kim want to talk about Miss Brown Sugar and pretty much her scraping the bottom of the barrel. Kim, women like you are the worst. Shout out to your man. Women like you are the worst. You pretend to care about other black women. You don't care about other black women. You care about that war you waging against black men, particularly working class black men, right? I don't want black men to get caught up with your brand of whatever the hell you call that feminism, I guess, black feminism, right? I don't want a black man getting caught up. You like I said, shout out to Paris Milan's husband getting caught up with Yanni, getting caught up with Chrissy. You know, when Cynthia G was getting off, when she did the Fox Soul interview with Dr. Umar Johnson, she alluded to her having a black man. Wow, who are you? Wow, right? Who are you? You watch her say abort black male sons, and you still be D'ing her down, right? Wow. Hey, the, you know, shout out to Charles. Black men are the garbage men of the dating world because sometimes you meet certain women, even in real life, or you see some of the rhetoric, from women online, or you see some of the pictures they take or some of the things they say, and you're like, who's D'ing y'all down? Who is it? Who? Right? And Emerald Edge, thank you for the super sticker. Right? And Trell says that's gas chambers talk. That's why I say it all the time, Trell. That's we what I said before. We're walking right to Auschwitz. We're in Auschwitz. We're in Dachau, right? We're on the train to Auschwitz. That's why I say that, right? And that's frightening for Black people with the history of America, with the Tuskegee experiment, with the eugenics society. For you to see that, right? For you to know that, for your ancestors to have lived through that. For them to be sterilizing Black women because they Black women are inept, or right? For you to live through that and then come out your mouth the way you do now. Like for those of you that never heard Mr. Z say this, um, rest in peace to um Asia Maynard. When Asia Maynard passed, Pierce Malone covered that story. I called in, and throughout the conversation, I tried to stay as cordial as humanly possible, but she was trying to show off for her subscribers. And we got to the point where I finally said, Paris, you sound like one of those racists from 50 years ago, from the 19. I think either I said from 50 years ago or from the 1950s. Either way. And this lady, not literally looked me in my face, but looked me in my face and said, "Yeah, they were right about y'all back then." Straight up. Yeah. That's the Black woman who has a Black Nigerian husband right now. A woman who heard me say, Paris, you sound like right now you're sounding like a white racist from 50 years ago. And she said they were right about y'all back then. That's the type of women that oftentimes get elevated in this society. Black women that think like that about Black men while having a Black husband. Now, yes, he's not ADOS FBA, but he's still a Black man. Right? So if an ADOS woman can't even be shamed into toning down the rhetoric for at least 5 minutes while she's on the phone with another Black man, with a Black man, then we are in Auschwitz. Paris Malone has a Black husband. Yeah, he's Nigerian, but he's a Black man. And she's literally using the term "naker," which is a racist white term that came from a white woman. Right? That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. Right? And that, if y'all want to go get into it, we could finish that conversation about Vincent and Veronica LeBeau. And I didn't listen to all of his videos, but I got to catch much of Jessica X's coverage. And yeah, we are in neo-Naziville, but this time you're gonna have a lot of Black people trying to help racist white people kill off other Black people. Right? Insanity. And Mr. Z never thought that he was above. Y'all know Mr. Z's background. I'm Haitian descent. I never thought I was above it though. I don't think I'm above it. I don't think I'm separate. Like I said, I'm here now. My woman is ADOS. My actual real name, my government name is not um um French enough, right? It's not right. There's nothing about my hair texture. Well, I'm bald, but there was nothing when I did have hair about my hair texture or anything like that that would make me a different Negro. Nope, I don't get it. I'm not light skinned. Nope, I don't get nope. I don't get no passing over here. Nothing about Mr. Z is passing. Not my name, not my like I said, my hair texture, my phenotype, my color, none of it. I'm black. Period. Just Haitian descent. And because of that, there is no running. There's no escape plan. There's no, well, I could use this to mitigate against my blackness. Nah. Nope. Right? And Lewis Conyer, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Oh well, it's super chat. You just said salute. Thank you for the super chat and salute to you too, brother. Salute. Right? And maybe we do need a Nuremberg trials, right? I'm not about doing what they did at the end though. But if there was a way to like excommunicate these particular people, like, okay, you know what, you want to be over there so bad, you be over there, you will officially be considered them, and that way when you spew your rhetoric, we will treat you exactly, society will treat you, and the black community will treat you exactly how we treat the white racists that you want to be so bad, right? And let's see how much traction your rhetoric gets when you're essentially seen as just a racist white woman, just a tan racist white woman, right? That's how it needs to be treated, right? Because your rhetoric only matters because you're a black woman spewing white racist BS about black people, about black men, excuse me, in particular. But the second you're seen for what you really are, which is a chocolate dip white racist man slash white racist woman, then that's what you are, right? And we once again, you know, and tying that to the main topic, Miss Laura and Miss Shay Shade, shout out to y'all. Great conversation. Um, it's somewhat entertaining watching white folks be like, "What?" They think what? They said what? Like black people, black women, black divestors and swirlers. What y'all thought this was just gonna stay amongst black people? You were gonna be wishing death and dancing on graves and right? Speaking about how horrible these men are and speaking about aborting black men, unborn unborn black males because adult black males didn't do what you wanted them to do. So black men didn't do what you wanted them to do. So you're going to unalive the unalive, right? You're gonna unalive the unalive black males because the ones that are alive didn't do what you wanted them to do the way you wanted them to do it. That's a special type of broken woman. Y'all see me cover Cynthia G, but not really. And there's a reason for that. First of all, I don't think Cynthia G is that smart. Um, but secondly, she's beyond broken. She is beyond broken. And quite frankly, I don't know how much more heinous these people can get until they start actually getting physical, right? I mean, where do you go from abort black male babies and I like to see white men regulate and beat up on white police officers regulate and beat up on black men? It makes my giny wet. I mean, where do you go from there? Like, right? If you're not gonna actually put some action to your words, I don't really know where you go with the word. What can you possibly say from there? That's worse than that, right? Where do you go from speaking to a man online that you don't know, and when he tells you, "Hey, you're sounding like a white racist from like 50 years ago," and you say to him, "Yeah, they were right about y'all back then." Where do you go from there, right? Right? Where do you go from there? Where do you go from Chrissy telling black women don't send your daughters and don't to HBCUs and don't go to HBCUs yourself? Go to PWIs to compete for the white men that the white woman and the Asian woman are probably gonna outcompete you for. Like literally, you follow her line of logic. That's what she's telling you. Do not attend HBCUs because the black men are too busy chasing after light skinned black women or the non black women at these HBCUs. So go to the PWIs, go mingle with the white dudes, go attempt to compete with the white women and the Latinas and the Asian women for the white men, then lose and then do what, Chrissy? As I said, where do you go? Where do you go after this rhetoric? Where do you go from Kim Foster literally saying we need to bring back we don't need these niggas feminism while we're going through stagflation in America? She literally looked out in the environment, saw the stagflation, either know about or read the article speaking about women struggling, how many women have been laid off since beginning of COVID, right? How many young people had to move in back with their parents, and that's for the ones that weren't living with their parents in the first place. She literally looks out in the environment and sees that and then says, yeah, let's bring back we don't need these niggas feminism. Where do you go from there? Right? That's insane. Meanwhile, she's glowing while she's in a relationship. She's glowing. Paris is literally calling black men nakers while she's married. Chrissy's supposedly dating some white dude while telling black women to stop going to HBCUs, go to PWIs, and compete for the white dude. Chrissy, You're slowly creeping to 40 years old, Chrissy, if you're not 40 already. Do you never want to be married, Chrissy? That's cool if you don't. That's cool if you don't. But if you do, Chrissy, how's this swirling and divesting thing been working for you? Because Chrissy admits she's dated out, for forever. Where's the ring? All these dudes are better than black men, remember? Where's the ring? You dated D boys. Where's the ring? Yanni, where's the ring? You've been celibate for how long? Where's the ring? Right? So the question remains, for all of these people and all the things they've said online, where do they go from there? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Where do you go from here? Right? Where does Lexus Exodus go from where she is? Talking about black men's loot. Excuse my language. Excuse, if y'all got kids in the room, put headphones on them. Talking about black men's loose booty holes. It was so bad, even FD Signifier covered it. Like, wow, what? Just casual homophobia. Just casual homophobia. Right? Where do you go from there? So that's what's going on in the black community. Trail said the fuck. Yeah. Even FD covered it. Even it was like it's like even the people that tell us it's not that serious, I think every once in a while they'll hear something and be like, God damn, okay, all right, all right, all right. Like when I told him, brother, I was like, because he didn't. Apparently, when I was speaking to FD, I don't know if y'all caught that part of the interview when I brought up the bigger long character in For Harriet, and he said he never watched For Harriet. So I was like, yeah, they have a character in the movie that pretty much says that he's down to hunt down Harriet Tubman so he could turn around and spend that money on white whores, and he's saying this to a slaver's face. And FD was like, okay, yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, so you're participating in this conversation without fully understanding what we're saying. You know how many parts of movies and stories and not even that, conversations we done had online that you're so late to, right? There's you know, you're just so late. And something he said on his with his conversation with T Noir is like, when Kevin passed, he know there was going to be a void there, and so that's where all of his kind of metasphere content, that's what inspired that. Um, but yeah, so first of all, I get it, but no. Um, Secondly, there's just so much that you don't know and that you've missed. Like, yeah, you can still do the research, um, to kind of plug in the holes, but yeah, no, there's so much, right? They're so there. I mean, and even since we had that conversation, I mean, look at this new therapist. We spoke about the therapist from last year. What about this therapist? Right? I spoke about Kim Foster without saying her name. And then a few weeks later, she says, we need to bring back, we don't need these niggas feminism. I mean, there's just so much that happens, you know, with this conversation. And I will say, he took a he gave these feminists a little pow pow, when you just tap your niece on the wrist, don't do that, right? He gave them a little pow pow. He's like, those male tears mugs and all that stuff. Y'all cut, yeah, y'all not helping with that. So he gave them a little tap tap. Don't do that, right? Meanwhile, he taking shots at Kevin Samuels. He's taking shots at the Black Manosphere, but he's engaging with the women with the kid gloves. Pow pow! Don't do that. Don't. The male tears mugs that y'all have in y'all cubicles and in y'all offices on your desk. Yeah, that's not. Don't do that. That's mean, right? And Detroit says, and thank you for the super chat. Detroit says, that's nothing new. I'd heard them on Clubhouse where they begging white men to kill all black men, right? And if y'all caught Vincent LeBeau's stream when he had the black women on, those divestors, and when he had the divestors on, a couple of those sisters were begging white men to come and rescue them. Come rescue them from Blackistan. Open up your options, right? Oh, Leon, I'll catch that. Thank you very much, Leon. And Leon says MD talked about that therapist today, and he could not really express anything, but at the same time saying he agrees with her and saying that he cannot find a male therapist at the same time. Bruh. Yeah. Y'all keep on playing with them with kid gloves. Y'all keep playing with them with kid. I say this all the time. There's a reason why, you know, Toya listens to me. There's a reason why Kareen listens to me. Because there's no hate here, and you could tell there's no hate. But y'all gotta talk about black women like they human beings and they got agency. Y'all gotta talk about them like they're adults, right? All this kid glove stuff is how you get stabbed in the back. That's like calling your 15-year-old daughter or son, oh, I'm gonna go pick up the baby. You mean your teenager? Oh, the baby just called me and told me, to come pick him up from school. You mean your 17-year-old? Right? These people are saying things like, yeah, exactly, Trell, thin the herd. They're saying stuff like that, and y'all are like, yo, well, yeah. I mean, it's coming from a traumatic place. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, fine. It's coming from a traumatic place. And a lot of these brothers are suffering with trauma too, and y'all don't give a damn. Y'all tell them to go figure it out, go find a therapist, go delete yourself, go do something, right? This therapist got videos talking crap about black men, literally saying, when I say protect black women, I also mean protect black women from black men. Like I said, to Shay, who's supposed to be protecting black women from black men? Shout out to the brother who said the Will Smith types. But yeah, let's be honest, you know what they mean. We know who they trying to get to come protect them from black men, right? We know who. We need to start speaking about women, black women, like they have agency. We have all been around kind black women, caring black women that look out for you. They don't even know you, nice, giving, loving. And likewise, we have been around mean, a hole, conniving, backstabbing, getting off on being mean, revel in it, catty, violent, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive black women. And guess what? Sometimes that same black woman is the same loving black woman. Goddamn, Mr. Z. You need to speak about black women like they're human beings. And I understand that it is you walk in a tightrope because you need them you need that concept of women in the black community being the moral conscious of the country. You need that so you could get certain things pushed through, right? But at the same time, that is also mm, it's also dangerous while in community with black women when that same said morality then gets shoved on you as a black man, right? Black women more moral than black men, kinder than black men, more loving than black men. So it puts black men in this catch 22 position where black women are in their supposed morality and sense of justice gets a couple of crumbs flicked off the table towards the black community, mainly black women, almost exclusively black women, to be frank. But then at the same time, that same supposed sense of morality and sense of justice then gets weaponized against black men because, God forbid, you speak about black women like they're human beings and that they can also be self interested, selfish, mean, conniving, backstabby, materialistic, etc., etc. And shout out to you, D Scott. Thank you for the super chat. And D Scott says FD doesn't care. He's willing to sacrifice his own to protect Keisha's look good. Excuse me, to protect Keisha's look good. Black men like him need to play in traffic. Oh, and I just thought about somebody literally like trying to hopscotch on the expressway or something like that while traffic's coming. It's just hysterical, right? Thank you for this once again. Thank you for the super chat, D Scott. Hysterical, right? But yeah, so D Scott killed me with that play in traffic. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm kind of all over the place. I originally started trying to speak about the Miss Laura and then Shay, and once again, shout out to Shay. Um, and Shay's a problem. Shay is a problem for them. It's an attractive young woman, married, nuclear family, no children before marriage, Christian, right? Loves black men, loves black women, ADOS, right? She's a problem, right? It's real hard to pull all that. And she's had white friends, white associates, worked with white people, right? And she can bring on white women. You had the grandmother that she bought on last year or the year before. I want to say that was last year, but maybe let's say the year before if my time's off. Then you got the this young lady that she bought on today. Knock on wood. Hopefully she can interview the ladies that speak about kind of the online dating space. Those particular women are a problem because remember the conversation is bigger than just black men ain't ish. This conversation is about how the rest of the world, how black women have weaponized this rhetoric against black men. These particular type of black women, how they've weaponized that so that they can hoard much of that, the few crumbs that get flicked off of white table, how they can hoard that and essentially say, yeah, you want us to be the ones running things because remember, they're monsters over there. Those black men are monsters over there. So those few crumbs y'all flick off the table, you want us to have them, right? And shout out to Big Kev. Thank you for the super chat. And Big Kev said, they are liars. End of period. Well, I think you mean end of it, or that's the end of it. But yeah. And we know they're gaslighters. We know they're they're attempting to gaslight. They're attempting to they are liars. So just make sure we know that Mr. Z agrees with Big Kev on this. But yeah, but like I said to Miss Laura, it's just gaslighting. And notice the tone I took, and notice the tone I take. It's not about hating. Mr. Z is about dating black women. Mr. Z wants to marry black women. That's me. So it's not about hate, and it's never been about hate for me. But what's also not going to happen is that you're going to sully my name, sully black men's name, because of whatever gripes you have going to your youth, because you mad about what type of men you can get now as an adult, or what type of man you can't keep, right? Right? So that's why Mr. Z sounds the way he does, because it's not about hate. Even notice how I spoke to Miss Laura. I didn't give up any extra nothing. Like I told y'all, I know how to talk to white people without throwing other black people under the bus. The larger conversation, I spoke about millennials and their struggle. I spoke about women of color and why they might be sounding the way they sound. Right? I talk about the financial realities of young people. The subtle messages, right? Subtly suggested. Shout out. I can't remember. Well, I said that on Roger's channel one time, and one of the brothers was like, "I like that term," and thank you. Right? That was forever ago. That was like 2 years ago. I still remember. But yeah, what was subtly, and for all my millennials, even my younger Xers, y'all know what I'm saying. And older Xers and boomers witnessed it happen to us. That's why some of the Xer and boomer parents didn't check their kids for what they were going to school for, because the message was just go to college, get your degree, and everything will be great. Swell on the other end of that. And there are numbers that data that actually shows we're not anti-college over here. Remember that. We're not anti-university over here and anti-college over here, and no higher ed. We're not anti that, because if you didn't know, Mr. Z actually wants to go back to school. So, but there is something to be said about the reason why a lot of parents, older Xers and boomers, didn't check what their kids would go to school for, was because like it was pretty much said like just get a degree and you'll be all right. And like I was saying, there are numbers that show that um college educated people make somewhat $1 million over the span of of a lifetime more than non-college educated people. So I would tend to agree with that. I think most of it is for white people. And I remember some data. I think it was Dr. T that covered it. Like, excuse me. All of like the social boons or the social boggles that your average American, including some black women, attain with college education and with more money and status. Black men don't really get that. We still be dying mad early. Our diet still be crap, or our health, better yet, still be crap, because we're black men in a white racist society. That doesn't mean that you still don't get a college degree, though, right? And I said all of that to say, like, this. I really have an issue, and that's why I'm stressing this more and more. And thank you, BGS, for pretty much, directing me and being like, "Gee, have you considered going in this direction?" Because I really want to stress this. Like, y'all are not talking about the socioeconomic situation that's causing people to sound like this. Y'all just wanting them to ratchet up the language, the anger, the rhetoric. Why? It's cowardly. It's cowardly to look at black men and be like, you're the problem. Instead of those rich white folks in that government that could make you disappear. I know why y'all doing it. The why was a rhetorical question. Because it's easier, right? It's easier to direct all your anger to working class black men or to some handful of black celebrity men with some money that's banging a non-black woman or a light-skinned black woman or a racially ambiguous black woman. It's easy to direct your anger at those people. How many? Look, man, we actually covered the Chris Small story. The brothers that went at Amazon, the brothers that went at Jeff Bezos. We covered that over here in the Black Manosphere. I didn't hear none of those women cover that. Maybe they did, and Mr. Z missed it. But I know I'm not the only one that be snooping into their conversations. Did any of you see any one of those divestors cover this? Any one of those divestor adjacent women cover this? Any, have you seen any one of them cover anything about labor right now? About how we, and it almost seems, because it's I have my doubts, that we might have an emergence, a re-emergence at the very margins. I so don't believe it, I'm afraid to even say it, but at the very margins of a kind of renaissance of unionization. Y'all don't take my word for that. That's don't hold me to that. But have y'all seen any one of those women anywhere near that space cover that at all? Right? Let me pause right here in Detroit and thank you for the super chat, Detroit. And Detroit says, I've been to New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco, Portland, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, and etc. And I never seen black women with white men, but most white men with white women. Look, man, I live, I'm born and raised in Miami, one of the major cities of this country, and I see it occasionally. Occasionally, I see a sister with a Latino. I never see it. Well, we don't really have South Asians and East Asians down here like that, right? We have a community of East Asians, but not like that. It's not like the West Coast or that like Northeast region. But I've like never seen a an Asian man with a black woman, right? Romantically. Now I know it exists, and I maybe I saw it, maybe I just don't remember. But like you know, black woman with white man, yeah, I've seen that. Of course, I've seen that. I've seen that. But how often? Not how these people are talking, right? Not how these people are talking, right? And Big Kev says everyone doesn't need to go to college. Yeah, but when in your mind, because it's not about the college, it's not about the education, right? The formal education for many of these people. It's about the status, right? It's about the status. For many of us that come from like black foreign backgrounds, whether it be Nigerian, anybody that's listening to me, tell me I'm lying. Oftentimes, your parents want you to go to college just so they can have something to brag about. Your aunts and uncles want their children to go to college just so they could be like, yeah, my son, my daughter, this nurse, this doctor, this attorney, this yeah, right? If you can make money in another way, they would like it. They would definitely like it, but they need that status of the Esquire, right, behind your name. Oh, that DR in front of your name, right? Even if you made the same type of money, blue collar, it's not the same, right? This is when we get into the difference between class and income. And one thing you'll notice is, especially for foreign folks, even foreign blacks, they are very sensitive to class. Very, very sensitive to class, right? And there's nothing they would like more than to send word back to Haiti, to Jamaica, to Bahamas, to Nigeria, to wherever that, oh yeah, you heard such and such son? Oh yeah, he graduated law school. Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Right? He does that. Oh yeah, he pulled up to the family reunion in this type of car, right? Or I went to go drop something off for his mom and I had to drive. Oh, he lives in a really nice neighborhood. He has a big house, right? So that's what the college degree is for. Like you're right, Big Kev. You're absolutely right. College is not for everyone, you know, and there's definitely different type of ways to earn an income and to make a decent living and to maybe even make a better than decent living. But it's about them bragging rights, right? It's about those bragging rights, right? It's about sending money back home so your parents could start breaking land and building that house for you back in Nigeria, right? Back in Haiti, right? Or where's such and such getting the money to build a house? Oh, her son. You ain't hear her son does this and this and that. Or her daughter. You ain't hear her daughter does this and this and that, right? So that degree, yeah, it speaks loud, but it need now. Here's when it gets interesting. A degree in what, right? A degree in what? But yeah, man, look, this conversation was dope. It was light, it wasn't too heavy, you know. And I think we just have to have an honest conversation like, yo, people are feeling it. People are all Americans are feeling it. They're feeling the pinch and they're watching banks get bailed out, right? They're watching and I I heard a theory about the recent banks, falling. Um and I'm gonna wait before I posit that because I heard a theory and it was from somebody somewhat notable. Not no conspiracy theory thing. Well, let me take that back. He admitted it was kind of a conspiracy theory, but it was from somebody definitely notable, who is in the know. And I'm gonna wait before I posit that, right? Right. So SVB, yeah, where Mr. I'm, yeah, yeah. We'll wait before we get into that. That might be a whole, yeah. I might want to bring in some of my money people, my finance guys, and BGS to have that conversation because Mr. Z that is one area that Mr. Z has no expertise in, and I got to bring in the big guns because I don't know nothing. But yeah, that theory was interesting, and I'll wait before, even if it turns out to be wrong, I'll wait before I'll bring that to you guys. But I'm saying all of that to say that's the environment we're living in, stagflation, and like, bro, I don't see these people talking about that, right? I don't see these people talking about stagflation. That's frightening. We were living in the middle of COVID, like y'all hear me say all the time, and these people were like still talking about baller stuff. Yeah, better you. I'm gonna need you on that panel too, and better you said that's a panel, bro. I'm gonna need you on that panel. All my people that do anything with money, like you said, you used to work in payroll. I need to do, yeah. I'm gonna have to do a money panel and bring people on because you know, yeah. I gotta probably schedule that. Look for that in the next month or two, kind of thing, and we'll just do a whole everything from Enron all the way, from Bernie Madoff all the way, right? The Ponzi schemes and even the original name Ponzi and where it came from and all of that, right? Victor Creed, you see me? Victor Creed says soft life versus real life. And I think that's where you could scream all that soft life crap all you want. Look at the world you're living in, right? Look at who got it and how they got it, and whether they're willing to share it, and then share it with who, right? Because y'all seen, for all of you that have been around to hear Mr. Z when I first started showing up on BGS panels, Rogers panels, Charles, name them, right? Rogish, na- name them, Toya. Y'all ain't never hear Mr. Z talk none of this foolishness. I could come up on lottery money tomorrow. I could go back to school, mess around, get into finance, and be a million. I still won't be so because I know what people are really living, right? And like I always say, like, could black people do better with money? Of course. Do you need 25 pairs of Jordans? No. But is your 25 pairs of Jordans the reason why the black community is broke? No. Maybe it's the reason why you are broke, but it's not the reason why the black community don't got no money. And if y'all think the one odd cousin or nephew you got is the with 20, 30 pairs of J's, maybe 3 or 5 thousand, maybe even $10,000 worth of clothes, you think that's why we broke? That's not why we're broke, bro. Like I always say, like, that's not, yeah. If I'm gonna get on the women for like these easy one-liner answers, well, the reason black men are this and black men are that, that's why. No, no. If I'm gonna get on them for that, then that's another thing. I'm not letting nobody slide with this respectability talk, and that's the reason why black people don't got no money. No, black people don't got no money because way more Americans than y'all think don't got no money. Terrell said, I don't know how much lottery money we talking. I'm not talking about the super mega, the Powerball. But even if I was to win the Powerball for some 500 million, let's say Mr. Z hits, and I'm the only one that hit for that $1 billion, and then taxes drop it down to, I don't know, six something or something, five something or something stupid, right? Because tax is gonna take a huge chunk out of that. I'm still not gonna sound like some of these people. And I bring up the lottery. So let's say somehow magically I start a business. First of all, I don't know if my business would ever get that big because I really have an issue with stepping on other people to a certain extent, like the hostile takeover, right? Like I don't know, which means that I would be the one to get my head taken off. But let's say somehow magically I got to like hundreds of millions of dollars with a business and I didn't step on anybody, which okay, whatever. Um, I don't know if I would still be talking like crazy about money. It reminds me of Mark Cuban, um, and rest in peace to Michael Brooks. Michael Brooks, and when he was still alive, he covered, and this was during COVID. Um, Mark Cuban saying like all this stuff that we said about the private industry and the private industry could do this and the private industry could do that you know and like when COVID came, it gave him a gut check. It was a reality check, and he had to say it like, yo, the private industry couldn't do nothing that government was doing right now. This is Mark Cuban, billionaire Mark Cuban, Shark Tank Mark Cuban, arrogant ass Mark Cuban, pretty much telling y'all, yeah, the private industry don't got no answers. Sorry, go talk to government, right? And Michael Brooks and his crew were covering that and be like, that's what we've been trying to tell. And these are younger guys, right? Like Mr. Z's age ish, right? Maybe a couple years older, a couple of years younger, but like around my age. And this was what, 3 years ago, something like that. Because Michael Brooks has passed now for what, 2 years, 3 years now. So this is like in the beginning of COVID, beginning ish of COVID, better yet, right? And his crew is covering it like, this is what we trying to tell you for the longest, you a hole. And I bring all that up to say, like, if you really care, then this is some of the stuff you would be talking about, at least every once in a while. But you're not. You just talk about how black men ain't ish, right? Or taking shots at black men and trying to hide your hand and play innocent, Kim Foster, right? And Better You says, I still work in payroll. That thing was oh, I know what you mean. Ish show last Friday was chilling, being the day and chats. I think you probably beginning the day in chats and emails went crazy trying to figure out what happened. Yeah, and I'm still not one. I've just been watching a few things. I read a couple of articles, but I still don't fully understand. So like that's why I said I gotta bring certain people on because you know I guess it's the bank, but apparently that's like where Uber and them get some of their money from, and like I don't know. Yeah, yeah. And now they're being bailed out, even though after Biden or I think Janet Yellen said they weren't going to bail them out, but then apparently they are going to bail them out. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, right. So I guess for all of us that we want to be bailed out when we got financial issues, I guess you got to start a bank because you as an individual, um, you ain't getting bailed out. But I guess if you get big enough and wealthy enough, um, and then you and a group of your friends start a bank and y'all buy other banks, and maybe in 10 years, when you get into financial issues, the US government will bail you out. But as of right now, being a person that's only earning your little 50, 40, 30, $100,000, something happened to you, that's your ass. Okay, T. And T says they guarantee the depositors that they not bailing out the bank. Let me read that again. They guarantee the depositors they're not bailing out the bank. Okay, okay. Right. Oh, so you mean like the FDIC type thing, like but a lot of those people have way more than $250,000, in those banks. So are they getting their little 250? I said little 250, like I wouldn't love to have $250,000 right now. Or are they getting all the money that was in that account? Right? Like how is that being? I don't know. Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. FDIC insures it. Yeah. Only 250K. Hey, y'all remember when FDIC used to only? Maybe that's how we're gonna start to have to separate the old from the young. It's for those of us that remember when FDIC only covered 100 up to $100,000 pre recession back in '08, right? And T said, yeah, but they said they're going to make them whole with some type of IOU, basically. Yeah. And Leon said, they gain every penny. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, I saw this too. And Better You said, in a nutshell, the bank wasn't diversified and went heavy on bonds. Yeah, there's a actually, I think the video I linked in my community tab was saying that too. Let me read that again. And Better You says, in a nutshell, the bank wasn't diversified well and went heavy on bonds. The Feds raising rates so aggressively made those bonds a loss, and then company lost confidence and withdrew their money. Yep, yep. Yeah. Better you said nah T, and I'm saying the nah T. Better you didn't say that part, but he said nah. They belling out the bank. They being cute with it. 93% of their customers are businesses. Hey, bro, you see what I'm saying? Like, by the way, I love this type of conversation. All right, which is like financial, political, and social all mixed into one. Would y'all agree with me on that? Like, that's kind of the conversation right now. Um, but yeah, jeez. Hey, let me get this right. We went from too big to fail banks to now too bigger to fail, right? So is that capitalism? That's not capitalism. Capitalism is nigga, you done fucked up. That's your ass. You gotta either get ate up, broken up, fall on your face, and your employees, we're gonna hit them with some unemployment. They'll be all right ish, kind of, maybe not. But you as an entity, yeah, you just that's how the cookie crumbles. But apparently, if you're too big, and I guess you're too locked into the U.S. economy, then you know if your tentacles go out too far, we can't let you fail. So I guess the goal for all the rest of us is to start a business or a bank or a company that gets so big and we purposely diversify so much that if we fall, we're going to just take too much down with us, or we're so big in a particular segment that if we fall, we're going to take too much down with us that we got to be bailed out. Or the alternative is to be big enough so that you get bought out. So big enough that you get bought out, or big enough that you pose a threat if you fall, right? And Better Use says it was actually three banks that failed last week. SVB was just the biggest one. Yeah, yeah. And Charles says only difference is that China likes to tinker with the wand, the yuan. Excuse me. Yeah, Leon, you see me. That's what I always felt to say too. Like, and Leon says this is wealthy people socialism. Exactly. That I mean, that's how I register it. I look. I look at capitalism like the worst of the best, or the excuse me, the best of the worst. Like, I mean, I think we're like kind of stuck in this weird place where what they said is easier to imagine the end of the world than to imagine the end of capitalism, which I actually believe. Like, I don't believe like that it's good that way. I'm saying like it literally is easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism, because whenever I have a conversation with groups of friends, or think to myself like, where do you go from here, right? Where do you go from here, you know? And I don't. I mean, I guess this is probably what people were thinking 1,000 years ago in the middle of the feudal era, right? Or maybe 600-700 years ago in the middle of the feudal era. Feudalism in Europe, like they probably were like, well, this kings and queens and monarchs and lords thing, this is the way it is, and sharecropping, and this is the way it is, and you know, serfs and lords, and this is just the way it is. And you fast forward 5, 6, 7, 8 centuries later, and it's different. So maybe it's hard for me to think with my little 20th 21st century mind of something different, right? And thank you, Mr. Shook to you. And Mr. Shook to you says, just lit over here, um, taking a break from the Shay Shade interview. She's Mr. Z with the stellar after party. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. D. Scott said, your tiny Negro mind. You feel me? My tiny, um, 20th, 21st century Negro mind. And for y'all, those of you that's like, why are you saying 20th and 21st century? Because I was born in the 20th century, and now we're in the 21st century. So unless God has some plans for me, I don't see me getting out of the 21st century alive. So yeah, unless the universe have some plans for me, yeah. Right. And do you want to be the one person in your circle of friends and families and associate and everything that lives more than 100 years? Right. So yeah. So that's why I'm saying my little 20th, 21st century mind. I couldn't imagine anything different, but yeah, that's just crazy. Yeah, it's just y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. But yeah, so you know, uh, tying all this together, you see what we're talking about, because these things matter, right? That crunch, that financial crunch, people losing their jobs. Like I was mentioning to y'all earlier with the tech jobs, that so many of these H-1B visa immigrants who've been here for, like, some of them been here for some years, right? I think one of them that I was listening to have been here for a decade, right? So like losing your job and then like only 2 months to find something different. I mean, find something new. Excuse me, right? Like that's serious, right? And like all of this is happening simultaneously. We talk about it over here. We talk about how it's going to affect us in our individual lives. We have a larger societal critique of this. These swirler divestor, swirler adjacent, divestor adjacent people, these people, not so much, right? Better you said hell yeah. Give two lives like I caught a body. And And Victor said you could always be a vampire, right? What about Wesley? Wesley now? What about Blade? Right? It sucks. Wesley is too old to play like a new Blade, right? So yeah. Oh, I didn't. Oh, so that I didn't know. And Detroit said many Google employees gets temporary layoffs. Yeah, so I did not know that. I did not know that. But yeah, so yeah, I mean that still that still doesn't mean you don't push your children to consider STEM. I don't think that's drying up anytime soon, but I think certain parts of STEM maybe aren't maybe by the time for those of us that have kids, maybe, and I don't have any children, but for those of us that have kids 10, maybe 15 years and younger, there might be certain parts of STEM that by the time they come of age or by the time they're graduating college, we might have prepared them to go into that field, and that field may not be important that way anymore, right? So that's all, but I don't think STEM in general is drying up anytime soon, right? I mean, it's literally called science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Which part of technology is drying up anytime soon? Or science, right? Or engineering, right? Or math, like no, right? But there are, let's say, maybe coding might not, you know, be there in this same capacity in 10, 15 years, right? You know, that type of thing. In Detroit, it's same with Facebook and Twitter employees. Yeah, yeah. So that I did hear, but I didn't hear about Google. Okay, so that I definitely don't see drying up anytime soon. And Lord Lovesmith said, "Go, go work for one of the federal defense contractors like me. It's total job security." Like that, yeah. So that I definitely don't see going anywhere anytime soon. There's one thing the U.S. will make sure they got money for, right? And rest in peace to George Carlin. He was like, we may not be able to put a toast what he said toaster together or fridge together or blah blah blah, but we can bomb the ish out of your country, all right. We can bomb the ish out of your country. Hey, oh, if there was a white man that told the truth on stage, there was definitely George Carlin, right? Leon, exactly. Oh, wait, pressing the wrong button. Okay, now we're back. All right, and Leon said healthcare and war. Oh yeah, those things is definitely not drying up. Yeah, you see me? You see the people scrambling, right? Better you and better you said AI is a game changer. Dali, so I'd never heard of that before. And Chat GPT, I thought Chat GPT something popped up in my YouTube feed, and I did not click it, so it's not in my YouTube history. Speaking about Chat GPT and how we're already it's moving so fast, right? And I think that's what it was alluding to, at least from what I saw in the thumbnail. And I regret like not clicking on it, so that's gone in the ether now. Maybe it'll eventually pop up in my recommended, but not not anytime soon. Maybe. Um. Oh yeah, let me finish reading your comment. And you said AI is a game changer. Dali, Chat GPT did the did the cover to my last book and wrote the media post and ads to promote it. Damn. Right? Drugs either. Yeah, that's definitely not going on nowhere anytime soon. Definitely not. Right? Yeah. Hey, we live in a different world now. Yeah. shout out to Trail and all of you Xers that are not gonna be out of here early enough. Y'all in for the ride with us, millennials. The Roger Report, Trail, AL Evans, Art New Style, right? Y'all here with us too. Y'all ain't going nowhere anytime soon, right? Black Uru and BGS are like, yeah, let me get out of here before the machines start thinking for themselves. For real, for real. The red, all you Xers, y'all too young. Y'all gonna be here for the BS. Y'all in it with us, right? All the Xer people, Angry Man, Obsidian, all of y'all here, right? For real. Yeah, this thing. But I mean, I don't know if I see it as an existential crisis. It's just going to be a new normal, and I think the what they say, the one constant in the world is change. Change is the one constant. So like, I don't know how panicky I am. I just know that it's going to be a world that eventually you get left behind. Like, right, like some of our parents, for those of us that still have grandparents around, some of the stuff be scaring the hell out of them, right? So I think that'll just be us. It's already us to a certain extent, right? But that'll just be us more and more, you know. But I don't think that's the end of the world, short of somebody pressing a nuclear the red button, or um an asteroid big enough, to wipe us out. But short of that, yeah, I don't. I just think it's the. I just want to know, how do we deal with not needing people in the workforce more and more, right? That's what I want to. How do we deal with that? Or are we going to continue with, like, the book that the dude wrote, BS Jobs, right? Are we just going to continue with that, just moving this paperwork over there, then moving that paperwork right back over here, and then putting a stamp on it, and then moving it over there again? Like, are we just going to continue with that? Continue with that, so that people can have something to do, right? So yeah. Leon said, "I hate you Swift drivers. Hope y'all don't lose y'all contract with Walmart." I didn't know Swift had a contract with Walmart, right? I did not know that. Yeah, so Swift sided with Walmart and not with Amazon, right? Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I definitely heard about Yellowstone, and if it ever goes, that's a wrap for pretty much all of us. But definitely all of y'all, west of the Mississippi, huh? I don't even. Well, we're all screwed, but definitely all of y'all west of the Mississippi. Everybody's screwed, but definitely everybody west of the Mississippi. Y'all out of here, right? Yeah. Spademan said late. I thought I was supposed to be the one late. Fashionably late, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, like I said, it's gonna be a new normal. That's cool. You know, yeah, I'm not afraid of the change. I don't think. And even if you're afraid of the change, what does that do? Like, does that stop it? No, right? Just, you know. I just, like I said, I just don't know, what do you do with 8 billion people on planet Earth when you need them less and less, right? That's the question. Like, right? What do you do, right? That, you know, that's and I obviously don't have an answer for that. I don't know who does, right? That's the question. And it and because I've said this before, like, watching a bunch of sci-fi stuff. Um, for the people that are going to be well-to-do in the future, let's say a couple centuries from now, what are we in 2023? So 22, 23, right? 22, 24, 22, 25, and that era. If we're still here, if we didn't off ourselves yet, um, I'm jealous. Oh, I'm jealous. Oh, I am jealous. Because if we're here now with science, technology, engineering, and math, where are we going to be in 2 centuries? In 5 centuries, right? At the end of this millennia, where are we going to be, right? So the turn of the millennia, let's say by 3023, what is this going to look like? Oh, I'm jealous. If we manage not to kill ourselves, that is. Or if we're not off by some off-world thingamajigger or some disease. That part. Yeah. If we if we manage to still stick around for another millennia, I wonder what this is gonna be. Or what, excuse me, what are we gonna be? And are we still even gonna be a single planet species? Right? Yeah, Victor Creed, I agree with you. And Vic says it's a world we would never recognize. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. I agree. I actually agree with that. Shit. Look, 2023. Let's rewind to, I don't even want to go there. Let's rewind to the very beginnings of European conquest. Let's go 1500. Let's start right there. Look at the gap, right? Boats with sails, now boats with propellers, right? Navigation systems, satellites, cell phones, internet, Wi-Fi, right? AC buildings, cars, planes, shuttle to the moon, telescopes, Hubble telescope, all of that over the past 500 years, right? Pavement roads, you know, the English Channel connecting Britain to France. I mean, right? Nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, stealth airplanes. I mean, all of that. Submarines, right? Drilling for oil, using oil to be the pretty much the black gold over the past 2-ish centuries, maybe. Definitely over the past century, that's for sure. But century and a half, give or take, right? And Leon says they think we can leave this world in mass in about 100 years. I don't think that's too far fetched. I think that's possible. I think there just needs to be one more bump in mass transit, or what am I trying to say? There needs to be one more like discovery, I would argue, in like transportation, and I think we're out of here, right? We just need that one more either discovery, or that one more thing that like takes us from like miles an hour to like like hundreds, if not thousands of miles an hour, right? Like something that makes the speed of sound look slow, right? Because I know the speed of light, but we need something that can actually do the speed of light, right? And PK said a century and a half exclusively. Is that like referring to the oil comment that I made? But yeah, yeah. No, this is gonna be. This is. Oh, who said like welcome to Earth? Right? You got a front row seat to like the ish show, right? It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Hold on to your knickers. Shout out to the Brits, right? Hold on to your knickers, and we're going on a ride on planet Earth. This little blue green dot in the middle of the this solar system in the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah. So that's yeah. All right, you guys. So on that note, once again, because we went way off, way, 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 way off. Shout out to Shay Shade, shout out to Miss Laura, um, Walters. Great conversation. Um, yeah, divestors and swirlers be sounding crazy. Um, I understand. I understand the struggle. I understand the escapism. I get it. I think it's not healthy. You know, like Morgan Stanley said, some 45% of women are going to be single between 2018 and 2030, and there's a lot to contend with just that statement alone, right? Oh, I didn't even know that. PK says, shout out to the Pentagon claiming a alien mothership may be in our galaxy. Yeah. And these guys, Z sounded like a social worker right now. True. And I am, and y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. No, but, you know, there's something to be said about, you know, coping. Coping and not realizing you're coping, right? And what do you use as coping mechanisms? What do you use as a coping mechanism, right? What do you subscribe to? What do you watch? What do you listen to? What do you read to cope with like the stresses of life, right? Do you eat yourself to death? Shout out to Rael, right? And I think that's when we speak to divestors and swirlers and all of these people, the black women in luxury, soft life people, it's just coping. median household income, like I keep on saying, somewhere between 67 and 70 grand a year. That's not even, we're not even talking about black people. We're talking about Americans. Black people is somewhere, what, 37, some stupid number, stupid low number. But 70 grand, that's two people that make about $35,000 a year. Or a husband that make 40 and a wife that make 30. And in that environment, I think you get, and in that environment, with media that promotes like at least upper middle class lifestyle on television, right? In that environment, I think that's how you get black women that sound like this, and even some white and Latina and Asian women that sound delusional, right? I think people sound the way they do, and I mean, this is why y'all hear me go at like some of the times like the brothers with their like scammy things, and like that's why y'all saw me put that video in my shorts. Um, Not my little shorts, that's funny, but in my short tab on YouTube with the brother that like these, what was it, the entrepreneur, like these YouTube businessmen and these YouTube entrepreneurs. I put that in there. What it was to be a little lighthearted, but it was also to say like that's how men often cope with this environment, right? But the women cope with like a man doing those things for them. Right? A man doing those things for them. So I mean, you know, I think that's how you get some of this swirler divestor talk. It's coping. It's coping. And clearly, as evidenced by Miss Laura, thank you for coming on to Shay's channel. These people don't know what they're talking about. I said it. And I think that's why me and Shay Shade are so dumbfounded by these people. It's like y'all can't know white people for real. And to all of us that like, I keep on saying this, um, who've had white friends, white associates, worked with white people, drank with white people, chilled with white people, for real, for real. We know these swirlers and divestors don't know white people for real. They don't. Talking to about them like they're super people, like, bruh, right? And this is a link to a video. PK, I'll check it out at the end of the stream because I can't even wait. Actually, maybe if I flip to my YouTube comments, I will be able to click it. Give me 1 second because I'm not even looking at my own comments right now. Wait a minute. Give me one and a. Give me a second, y'all. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's a serious title. Damn, that's a serious title, PK. All right, I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, and yeah, so I think that's how we get divestors. That's how we get swirlers. That's how we get brothers and sisters, and particularly in the black community that continue to fall for scams, dude. Like all type of scams. And I think that happens because the struggle is real, and we're all looking for answers, or we're all looking for a way out of, in America, which really is financial struggle. Now, that's not even just an America thing, but like financial struggle, right? Yeah, you know. And on that note, everyone, love, peace, and chicken grease. I'll pause right here. Y'all have a great rest of y'all night. Um, y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content. So y'all don't sound like these people that me, Miss Laura, Miss Shay Shade, who we were critiquing. Because these people, Jesus. Um, Shout out to all you parents right there. Y'all have a Herculean task in raising your children not to sound like these people, and then raising your children to stay away from these people, to not be these people and to stay away from these people, right? Yeah, yeah. It's just and see, look. I said that, and I even read Spain Man comment, and Spain Man says I've said it before, but I'm just in all of this for my son primarily. Look, let's tell him the second she start talking about level up, run the other way. Run, run, take a flight, jump on a jet, get as far away from her as humanly possible. Right? The second she start talking that level up stuff, and she talking about optimizing, and she ain't talking about business, get away from her. Run. Right? The second she start doing the black men don't run. Let me tell you what the white men run. Right? So yeah. And Spainman says, how deep down the rabbit hole did Shay take it? I know it's been covered, and I gotta go back and watch. Did she, and then you said, did she present the white chick with Vincent? No, she didn't present the white chick with Vincent. I don't even know if Shay knows about Vincent LeBeau yet. I don't even know if she knows about him yet. Right? That's a good question. I don't think Shay knows about Vincent yet. Maybe not. Maybe she has some future thing about him, but no, I don't think Shay know about Vincent yet. She gonna lose her shit, right? But no, yeah, no, it was Spademan, to answer your question, it was, if this makes any sense at all, because it's oxymoronic, but it was surface level deep, right? I don't Shay took her into the Shay took her 6 feet in the pool, but into the she didn't take her to the beach where you could really, really drown in that moment, right? So yeah, because she did play for her Cynthia G, and she did play for Miss Laura, um the clubhouse video where the young lady, whether not young lady, where these women were speaking about being turned on watching white cops beat up on black men, and how they use the hard R on Discord and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. So it was surface level deep, if that makes any sense. And I think Shay did that on purpose. I'm not that, by the way, that's no slight on Shay, but I think that was like a purpose, like, I don't want you to turn around and like hate black women, but I'm gonna let you see a little something about what they say and how magical they think white men are, right? So yeah, and it's how you would introduce somebody to something when you want to give them a synopsis of something, but you don't need them to know everything. You just want to show them a a tiny bit of the baddest of it, right? You don't want to keep it too light, but you just want them to see a little bit of some of the worst, right? And I think Shay did a really good job in like presenting that, right? The videos that she chose, yeah, those were good choices, right? So on that note, y'all have a great rest of y'all night. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Go check out other Black Manosphere content if you're not going to go to sleep, and go check out other non-Manosphere content if you're not going to go to sleep. And y'all have a great rest of y'all night. All right, everyone. Mr. Z out.